is a question from Suba. I hope I pronounced that somewhat correctly. It's a foreign name to me. And he wants to know if anybody has done a Star Trek teleportation effect or transporter. So we'll take a look at how to build one of those. Here are the simple steps to build a transporter beam. First, we need a background. And okay, we'll just stretch it out to the width here. And what we're going to do is we're going to have the beam come down and transport and have somebody materialize right there. Okay, the next thing we need is we need the person we're going to transport. And I'm just going to drop this image down here. I'm going to go ahead and turn off visibility on the background for now. All we want to do is just use this person without the background. And the way we do that is we go into AI matting, and we can use either the AI portrait cutout or we can use the smart cutout. Now, the AI portrait cutout will only work with people. It could be one or more people and it will cut them out. The smart cutout, if you wanted to cut out an object, you would use that. And sometimes you might use it for people as well. I think you'll see when I cut out this, the top of the axe won't actually be cut out. But we're going to take the shortcut here and use the AI portrait cutout. And right away, we've got the person we want without any fiddling around. And as I predicted, the top of the axe didn't get included, but that's irrelevant. So now we have a person and we have a background. Obviously, they're not to scale, so we need to scale down the person here so they fit more realistic on here. Again, we're on image, and we're going to go back to basic, and we're going to use the scale option to just scale the person down. And if we knew a number, we could just type it in here, 50. We'll do that. That seems pretty good. And then the X and Y position, we'll position them here. And in this case, we're going to move them over a little bit. And then we're going to move them down. I think maybe he needs to move over just a little bit more. And let's see if we can get that. That looks pretty good. And then down to about right there. Okay. This is where our person is going to end up. What we need to do next is we need to, and by the way, here's a trick. If you don't want these guys to be this tall, we can just shrink them up like so. Make it a double arrow, and then we have more space. Okay, good. Now what we want to do is we need a tractor beam, which is a beam of light. There's many ways you can go about this. There's all kinds of effects. There are free effects. There's effects you can buy, such as like this beam here, for example, you could put down. But you notice that it has the pink diamond, so it would cost money. I'm going to go for a simple look here. I'm not going to be using a lot of these flashy things in here. I'm just going to use the free things. Okay, so we need a beam of light coming down. And for that, we're going to go to stock media. And we're going to go to trending library. And we're going to select solid color. And then we're going to scroll down until we find the plain white. And here's white. So we'll go ahead and put that right down there. And that's perfect. Okay, the white fills the entire scene. And we want to actually put a mask on it. So we're going to click on mask. And we're going to take the two lines here. And we're going to just make them wide enough to cover our person. We want the person to be inside the beam. Okay, so that's perfect. Now we've got that all set. Now what we want to do is we want to keyframe the light coming down. Actually, before we do that, let's make it a little translucent. And we can do that by changing the transparency right here, opacity. So now we can see the person in the light beam. This is perfect. Okay, using keyframes, we will now go back to the basic here. We're going to keyframe the actual position of this. And we can go ahead and move it up. Let's see if we can select it. If we select it this way, we're selecting the entire image. And we can move the image up, 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 straight up. Make sure we keep it on the same x-axis. And we're at the beginning here, and we'll go ahead and keyframe all of the items in the transform. And then we're going to go out for about 1 second. We'll move out here to the 1 second mark, at which point we will be bringing down the beam. But the beam is much further down than we want. And let's move it up to about right there. Okay, so now we have two keyframes. We have a keyframe here and a keyframe here. And what that's going to do is going to have that come down. Now, the simple thing here is what we want is we just want the person to appear when the beam has come down. Okay, so we'll say that when the beam has completely come down, we want our person to be visible. And again, we're going to use in the compositing, we're going to use the opacity, and we're going to set a keyframe right here at this location. Then we're going to go back. We'll go back one frame. We move backwards. I hit the left arrow key, and I'm going to have to set it to 0. But you know what? It's going to take them a little time to materialize. So let's move this other keyframe up to, I don't know, the 2.5 second mark. Okay, so what we'll have now is we'll have the beam of light coming down, and we will remain hidden until we get to this point, at which point the person will start to materialize. So let's just play that. The beam comes down and the person materializes. That's pretty good, but it would be good to have a little bit of effect in here. So one good effect I think we could use is something called the chalk effect. And let's just go over here and type in chalk. Chalk, okay. And we're looking for this one here. This is a pretty good one. And you know what? We're going to move this up one line. So now I'm going to take the magnetic timeline off because I want to stick this chalk in between. Okay, it turned everything into a chalk. And first of all, we didn't want this color. We want it to be white. So let's just go in and change it to white. There we go. Now don't worry about the fact that it also includes the background. We're going to take care of that in just a little bit. But what we want to do is and I'm just going to go down here and turn off the background. Okay, so now all we have is just the person, and the person is chalky, and that's our chalk. Yes, it is white here. Let's turn off the white, and there we can see now I'm going to hold down the control key and make this larger, and as I make it larger, you'll see that we're getting this little square here, and that means that we can move our character around so we can see it. Okay, all right, so this is our white chalk, and what we want to do is we want the chalk to appear on the person as they visualize here. And so I think maybe we'll start here. We can adjust all of these keyframes later on, but what we want to do, and I'm just going to enlarge it back again. Not that. This, we're going to enlarge this so it fills the entire frame. Okay. We are going to use a mask on the chalk, and we're going to use the simple white line here, and we want it to appear. We're going to rotate it like so, actually the other way around, and we want it to kind of let's see, we will have it start. We can have it start up here, and we're going to go ahead and keyframe that. This is our chalk outline, and we can keyframe it right here. And then by the time that the person is fully materialized, which would be here, we will have it go further down. And so we can do that by just changing the Y position. We will click on this, and then we can better see. Okay, here. And now with the combination, we can't quite turn on the background yet because we still haven't isolated this, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But let's just see how the beam part of it works. There we go. And if we turn on the white also, this will be better. And there we go. Okay, so now we have the basic setup. Now all we need to do is to isolate this from the rest of the background. And we do that with a compound clip. It's pretty simple. We just grab everything we want in the compound clip, which is the person, the chalk edge, and the white. And here we go, just like that. And then we right click on that and we say create compound clip, and we'll call it beam. And we'll say okay. So now we have a compound clip called beam, which is everything. And we may have to add something where we eliminate the white at the end here, but let me just check it out. Let's see what we have so far. And it looks like we need to make this larger. I guess I forgot to crop to fit on this picture here, so it's not filling out the whole thing, but we'll just do a crop to fit. Now that most likely will change our position, but let's see how it plays. And also we didn't scroll it up all the way. There we go. Okay, now we can go ahead and play it. Looks pretty good, except for when I did the crop to fit, I moved it around. Now we can move everything in the compound clip without having to move individual things, and so that makes it pretty easy. We will just put it right down there. We can see that our beam is not quite tall enough, so we may have to make it slightly taller, but let's just pretend that I made it tall enough. And then let's play it from the beginning. And there is our person. And that's the basic concept. And that's all the steps that are necessary to make the beam. However, you can still dress it up. Another feature we could add in here is a scanner. Now, we've got all this stuff locked in the beam in this part right here. So let's just go ahead and enter that. We can double click on it here, or it also now appears, because it's a compound clip, right up here on the timeline. And let's see here, we can, we know that this was a little bit further down, and we wanted the white to be a little bit taller. So let's forget about that. Let's just go in there and let's add another effect. And what we're going to do is we're going to put in something called ray scan. And I have that right here. Now, again, there are some perhaps nicer looking ones, like this one here. You know, it's probably a little bit fancier. And there's many, many, many other features you can use. But I'm going to use this freebie one. And you can see that gives a nice little scan. I'm going to go ahead and put it right in here, and I'm going to adjust it. Notice that I added it to the compound clip. This is where I'm making my adjustment. And we want that beam to occur, yeah, right about there. That's actually works out pretty good. Let's check it out. There we go. Now the last thing we wanted to do was we wanted all of these things to die out. We don't want this ray scan to happen again. So I think we'll try to do this. This may mess up the timing. Let's see how it works. Okay. I think we'll do it right here. We'll keep it as it was. We'll scan it. But then at this point right here, when we get to here, let's mask the opacity here. It's right now, it's 100%. We're going to move 1 over to the right, and we're going to change it to 0. So this will no longer reappear. Now it will only appear once and they won't come again. And we can do the same thing with the white. Again, we could come to this point right here. And let's just say at this point, the opacity is, well, okay, it's not ray scan. We want to make sure we're on the white mask. And in the compositing, we will go ahead and give it 100. And then maybe we could retract the beam, or we could just make it disappear. Let's make it just disappear. We will go ahead and go for another second or so, pulling the beam back up, or rather making it fade out. And so we will, let's see here. This one is 100%. Here, let's make it 0. And so this will make it fade out. So that should complete our entire effect, except for the fact that I did drop it down, but let's see how it goes. So our beam comes down and it fades out. But we'll notice one thing, that scan we put on there, that seemed to turn everything solid. We don't want that. So let's go in here again and look at the ray scan, and let's see if that has some sort of opacity that we can use. It looks like we need to maybe reduce the whites a little bit more here, not be at 100%. Okay, this is our problem, is that we're at 100% on the white, and we really want to be at 50%. So it wasn't the ray scan, it was our white background. We had turned it on. So let's give it one more shot, and let's get out of the timeline and over here, and let's see what happens. Yeah, that's pretty good. Except something happened to our person. We turned the person off. That's why he's not seen. And there's our beam.